Six Flags New England in Agawam, Massachusetts is a very good home park. Though it may not have opened at all in 2020, in past years I've always been very lucky to have easy access to an amazing RMC, an outstanding Intamin Hyper, a B&M Floorless, and so many more coasters and flat rides. In this video I'll be ranking all of the coasters at my home park of Six Flags New England. Six Flags New England is the park that I've been to more times than any other, and I've been on each coaster there countless times, so I thought that this would be a good idea to make a video like this. Starting off the list at number 12 is the Great Chase. This is an E&F Miler Kiddie coaster from 1996. There's really nothing that special to this ride. The only thing that I'll point out is that there is one hill that has some airtime. Another cool thing about this kiddie coaster is that there's no height limit, meaning that you don't need a little kid to get the credit. Coming in at number 11 is Goliath, the Vekoma Giant Inverted Boomerang, which was relocated from Six Flags Magic Mountain in 2012, where it was formerly known as Deja Vu. From what I've heard, all of the other giant inverted boomerangs are very good and pull a lot of forces, such as Aftershock at Silverwood and Stuntfall at Parque Warner Madrid. While the forces on Goliath are strong, I find the ride to be filled with headbanging, a rather sluggish cobra roll, and the awful feeling that the trains put on your legs, making them feel like they're being ripped right off of your body. It's not a good ride, and it personally stands as my least favorite coaster. Taking the number 10 spot is Gotham City Gauntlet Escape from Arkham Asylum. This is just a typical Wild Mouse coaster that you can find at lots of parks all over the world. This ride opened in 2011 and was relocated from Kentucky Kingdom, where it was known as Roadrunner Express. Something interesting about this ride is that New England wasn't actually supposed to get it in the first place. The park was actually supposed to get a Dark Knight style indoor Wild Mouse, like the one you can find at Great Adventure. This is why there's so much empty space around the coaster. The number 9 spot goes to Catwoman's Whip. This is a Zero family coaster with the typical double figure 8 layout that most coasters of this kind follow. Fun fact, this was the first coaster that I ever rode, so Catwoman's Whip holds a special place in my heart for coasters. This coaster runs an extremely long train that seats 40 passengers, meaning that there is almost never a line for this ride. And as an added bonus, sitting in the back row allows for a super whippy ride experience. There's nothing really special about this coaster, as it's just a family coaster, but it is very solid for what it is. Coming in at number 8 is Flashback. This is just your typical Vekoma Boomerang coaster, and there's not really anything original, special, or unique about it. It's not a very good ride, but I do prefer it to the other standard Boomerang coasters that I've been on, which are Zoomerang at Lake Compounce and Boomerang Coast to Coaster at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. This was my first coaster with an inversion, so that's cool, but other than that, there's not really that much to say about Flashback, because if you've ridden one Boomerang, you've basically ridden them all. The number 7 spot goes to Pandemonium. This is a Gerstlauer spinning coaster that opened in 2005, and you can find it at a lot of other Six Flags parks, such as Six Flags Fiesta Texas, St. Louis, and a few more. This is definitely my favorite family coaster at the park. The New England version actually used to be called Mr. Six's Pandemonium, and honestly, I wish they kept that name, but they wouldn't, because Six Flags doesn't use Mr. Six in their commercials anymore. This ride is actually very enjoyable. It's very fun as you swoop through the turns, dive into the trench, and fly out of the helices, all while spinning out of control. Taking the number 6 spot is Joker 4D Free Fly Coaster. This ride isn't really that good. While I do appreciate the dips, flips, and whippiness of this coaster, it's so unoriginal, and at this point it's almost bland. Personally, I think we've seen way too many of these coasters built. They're fun, and they please the GP, which is Six Flags' top priority, but as an enthusiast, I think I speak for everyone when I say that these rides are only okay. A benefit to this coaster is that it is one of the select few coasters that they run during Holiday in the Park, so when I go to that event, I make sure to get on this, but otherwise, I think this coaster can find a spot at number 6. Number 5 goes to Thunderbolt. This is a PTC Woody from 1941, and it still holds up very well. The ride typically runs pretty smooth for its age, and I always get at least a couple pops of airtime on some of those dips and bunny hills. The coaster has been a staple of the park for longer than probably anyone watching this video has even been alive, and it still is to this day. It's a very fun ride, and there's something so magical about climbing the old lift hill and taking the first left-hand turn into the drop. I would never recommend skipping this coaster, as it's truly a gem of Six Flags New England. This may be a little controversial, but my pick for the fourth best coaster at Six Flags New England is Riddler Revenge of Vekoma SLC. Before its new trains in 2017, I would have put this coaster way back on the list. But now that all the headbanging is eliminated, you can finally enjoy this coaster for what it really is. The ride is very intense. Its inversions are whippy, its valleys are forceful, and it feels like a pretty fast ride, despite the fact that you're only going about 50 miles per hour. Riddler Revenge actually runs pretty smooth sometimes, and when it does, it's a very enjoyable experience. I actually rode this coaster 9 times in a row without leaving the station on New Year's Eve of 2019, so this coaster does hold some memories with me. Cracking the top 3 is Batman the Dark Knight. This is a B&M floorless coaster that opened in 2002. This coaster may be a lot smaller than the other coasters of its kind, such as Superman Krypton Coaster at Fiesta Texas or Bizarro at Great Adventure, but it still packs a punch. Its drop is very tight and pulls a lot of forces, and its first 3 inversions allow for a great feeling of 0G. The turn into the first corkscrew is actually one of the most intense moments in the whole park, and it's just a great coaster overall. Something interesting about this coaster that I don't know the reason for is the fact that Batman the Dark Knight runs way faster in the cold. Like I said, I have no clue why this is, but if you ever end up at Six Flags New England for Holiday in the Park, definitely make sure to get on this coaster in the back row. You will not be disappointed. Taking the number 2 spot is Superman the Ride. Before 2003, this coaster battled with Millennium Force and Expedition G-Force for the title of best coaster in the world, but now that this coaster has the awful U-brick restraints, it's fallen back in many people's rankings. Don't get it twisted though, this ride is still elite in my opinion. Superman the Ride has one of the greatest layouts on any coaster. It combines an out and back layout with a twister layout, making for an incredible ride. This ride is the perfect balance of great sustained airtime and intense positive Gs. Superman's drop is like no other, as it feels like you're falling forever, and the first airtime hill on the ride is probably the weakest of them all, as you take it the slowest. My personal favorite part of the ride is the overbank turn, followed by the S-bend into a quick pop of airtime as you take a step down. After traveling through 2 amazing sustained ejector hills, you enter the Spaghetti Bowl, which is just a mess of intense turns and airtime. Another cool thing about this ride is how it loses almost no speed. This means that you are flying into the brake run, and then it feels like you're going to hit the station in front of you, but the magnetic brakes kick in at the last second and save you. Superman the Ride is truly an amazing coaster, and it's so unique to Six Flags New England. As you probably expected, the number 1 spot goes to Wicked Cyclone. This coaster is an absolute beast. Opening in 2015, Six Flags spent $10 million on this ride, and I think it was worth every penny. The ride has an insane amount of ejector airtime, and I don't care what people say, you get airtime on the 3rd lap. It's surprisingly well themed for a Six Flags coaster, and it does a great job at using the layout of the old Cyclone. Wicked Cyclone has an amazing layout from start to finish. You start with a drop that sends you flying out of your seat in the back, followed by a tight overbank into a stall. After that, you take a quick turn and then enter my favorite part of the ride, the double down. This element is amazing. The first small pop is strong, but then the second pop jolts you hard into your lap bar as you fly up off your seat. The 3rd lap of this coaster is often hated for being sluggish, but I get airtime almost every time. The whole 3rd lap is filled with laterals, pure ejector airtime, and inversions. Back row on this coaster is amazing anytime, but back row at night when it's hauling is a ride unlike any coaster that I've been on. Wicked Cyclone is truly an amazing RMC, and I'm so lucky to have a coaster like this at my home park. Do you agree with my rankings? Let me know in the comments if you've been to Six Flags New England. If so, tell me what coaster is your favorite. Anyways, this is CT Coasters, signing off.